huh? Maybe I'm just not. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello, louder.
Hello.
Hello.
Everybody,
Let's settle down, everyone.
let's settle down, everybody. Hello, my name is DJ Pop Pop.
I'm DJ Pop Pop.
I-
We're here to
We're here to celebrate the NAACP, NAACP, Syracuse and Onondaga County 44th Annual Freedom Fund Award Dinner. And we're here to celebrate Martin Luther King III. He is one of our Freedom Fund honorees. And we're also here to celebrate our other honorees. Michael Benny, Melanie Littlejohn, Rashida Dewell,
Good job.
Ossie Edwards, Kenneth Jackson, Millie Madad Woods, Joseph J. Heath, George Laurence, Leslie Laurence, Ebony Pingel, Agni McRae, the Spanish Action League, Onondaga Community College, the CBTU, United Way of CNY, Who Wants Smoke, Barbecue and Catering, the Allen Foundation. Thank you, everyone, for coming here tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Such a pleasure to be in front of so many beautiful faces. At this time, I would like to introduce the MCs, Melanie Littlejohn, President and CEO of CNY Community Foundation, and Michael Benny, Anchor and Managing Editor of CNY Central News.
Well, good evening, good evening, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Melanie Littlejohn, and it is an honor and a privilege to be standing here tonight in celebration with all of you. So when we think about gathering tonight for this special evening with the Syracuse Onondaga NAACP, our very special honorees, you and all of the guests in the room, this is a beautiful moment. I hope all of you who had an opportunity to attend, whether it was the VIP reception or any of you who heard and witnessed and saw our future, let's give and show some love to DJ Pop Pop. You know, when I think about young people like DJ Pop Pop, I think about our responsibility as a community to love and nurture and support and recognize and acknowledge our future, because we know, and I think we heard this a little bit earlier, communities that honor and recognize and take care of their young are resilient and powerful. So, my pleasure to be standing here with all of you tonight. And it's also my pleasure to introduce my co-MC, and certainly he will also have an opportunity to introduce me. But when I think about Michael Benny, Michael is a proud Syracuse transplant who has made his home, Syracuse, New York, since the year 2000. Michael's at the CNY Central News. Michael serves as an anchor and a managing editor. Michael delivers news at 5, 6, and 11 on CBS 5 and anchors NBC 3 News at 7 after nightly news with Lester Holt. His 7 o'clock news has received the prestigious Edward R. Murrow Award for excellence for breaking news coverage of the second conviction of the former DeWitt doctor, Robert Newlander. Michael grew up in Scotia, New York, outside of Albany, and makes his home in the Sedgwick neighborhood of Syracuse with his partner, Nick. He is a very proud book buddy at Dr. Weeks. Yes, let's give it up for book buddies. Literacy is the foundation of it all. So, not only is he a book buddy at Dr. Weeks in Syracuse, but he encourages anyone and everyone who has the time to volunteer to consider donating their time to help the Syracuse City School students boost their reading capabilities. Michael is honored to be spending this evening with you as well as myself. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present to you my partner and MC for this evening, Michael Benny.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Melanie. I'm so pleased to be here. They asked for some personal remarks. I'll keep them really brief. When you are on television in this town for 20 plus years, two things happen when you're at the supermarket. When you haven't showered and you have dirt under your fingernails from picking weeds in your garden and such, people want to talk. They want to talk about the news. And most times, people have two things to say. When you're standing there at Wegmans, filthy dirty, in a ball cap, they say, "Oh my God, you're so much slimmer in person."
And that would be a problem?
And I think to myself, how bad do I look on TV? Or they say, and this is more common, they say, "I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you all do it. It's so bad. Everything is so bad. The news is so bad. I would cry. I would cry if I had to do the news." And it's taken 20 years of doing the news here to come up with an answer that I think is truthful and authentic to what's inside me. And that is, I tell them about the next event like this that I'm going to do. And it happens all the time. And I tell them, well, this week I'm hosting a big dinner. It's going to be a big celebration of a lot of people doing a lot of good work in Syracuse. And they look at me, and then they get it. They get that that really is what gets me through. That is what gets through the bad news. And that's what gets all of us through the bad news. And so when I say I am proud and humbled to be with you here tonight, I mean it. And more importantly than the fact that I mean it, I need it. So thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a while since I've had a co-anchor, or they've allowed me to have a co-anchor. Melanie Littlejohn is the president and CEO of the Central New York Community Foundation, a public charity that turns community dollars into community change. And prior to joining the Community Foundation, she served as Vice President of Customer and Community Engagement for National Grid. She worked there for nearly 30 years. Prior to National Grid, she served as Executive Director of the Urban League of Onondaga County and the Manager of International Client Services for Bankers Trust Company in the Wall Street District. Her biography goes on and on. So many of you know her personally, but she told me before we started tonight that all the rest of it pales in comparison to her brand new title. And her brand new title is
Me.
Congratulations on that, above all else, above all your other accomplishments, becoming a grandmother. How wonderful. Thank you all for being here tonight. We will kick things off with an announcement from the State Attorney General, Letitia James.
Good evening. My name is Letitia James, and I am honored to serve as the Attorney General of the great state of New York. And I am honored to be invited to address the Syracuse Onondaga NAACP 44th Annual Freedom Fund Awards Dinner. I want to thank President Muok and the Executive Committee for this distinct honor. Gwen, under your leadership and with the team you have joining you in this great endeavor, you have been a powerful and vital voice for change in the Central New York region. Thank you. I also want to thank your distinguished keynote speaker and honorees, Martin Luther King III, Linda Brown Robinson, Van Robinson the legend, and all of the 2024 honorees. Thank you for everything you have done to advance the cause of racial justice and equity here in New York and across our nation. And I want to give a special shout out to Linda Brown Robinson. Linda, you have been a stalwart leader of this community and an inspiration to people far outside Central New York. Your commitment to public service, to progress, and to volunteering to build a world has truly been transformational. Thanks to leaders like Linda and Gwen, for nearly a century, the Syracuse Onondaga NAACP branch has been at the tip of the sword in the ongoing struggle for freedom and justice. Because of your vigilance, Black residents of this community know they have an organization fearlessly advocating on their behalf. And not only when a controversy erupts, but for generations you have been a steadfast voice for fairness, equality, and the protection of fundamental civil rights. But my friends, as the theme for this evening so astutely recognizes, the struggle for civil rights and racial justice is an ongoing battle. It is about building the generations past, present, and future. The 20th century civil rights movement led to transformational change and an uplifting of generations of people. The leaders of this movement were responding to institutionalized racism and oppression. They knew that injustice could not be accepted, tolerated, or normalized. And while tremendous progress was made, we also know that the seeds of horrific pushbacks were sown and allowed to germinate. In recent years, those seeds have come out from the cracks and under rocks. We have witnessed unspeakable violence, outrageous examples of tolerated racism, and soul-crushing incidents of harassment and murder targeting people solely because they are Black. These are all reminders that progress is not guaranteed. It must also be agitated for. It must be advanced by passionate people and devoted leaders like all of you who are here this afternoon. By uniting the forces of civil rights, we labor, faith, and people of goodwill. The NAACP has proven that we can thrive together and advance this country forward. There will be occasional setbacks for sure, and sometimes it may even seem as if we are up against unsurmountable odds. But the Syracuse Onondaga and National NAACP have a proud legacy of rising to the occasion, of shaping the nature of our very democracy itself. And I promise you, as your Attorney General and ally in the struggle for racial justice in America, I stand ready to work side by side with all of you on our long but inevitable road to freedom until victory is won. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Attorney General. When I think about courageous advocacy and a fierce warrior for justice, that's who comes up in the dictionary, Tish James. So let's continue the introduction, and it's our privilege tonight to introduce our honorary co-chairs for the 44th annual Syracuse Onondaga County Freedom Fund Award Dinner. And so tonight it's my privilege to introduce or recognize Larry Bousquet, founding partner of Bousquet Holstein, and Angelia Johnson, CEO of Noise Consulting Group, Joanie Mahoney, President, SUNY ESF, and Dr. Rob Simmons III, Director of Micron Gives North. So thank you. Thank you for being here this evening, and thank you for your support of this organization. Thank you for all of you who have placed ads, provided donations, or most importantly, you've shown up. And you show up not only this evening in this room, but you show up always. So we appreciate you and we thank all of you.
This evening's event does not just happen. It's made possible thanks to some generous sponsors, including Micron, SUNY ESF, Noise Consulting, Carol and Sam Nappy, National Grid, Wegmans, Syracuse Community Health Center, the Lobdell family, Visual Technologies, Syracuse University, the United Way, CNS Companies, Crouse Health, New York State Homes and Community Renewal, Keister, CNY Community Foundation, CNY Latino, Velocity Clinical Research, Nescentia Health, Freeland Investigation, the Marriott Downtown, and Onondaga County.
Just a little housekeeping. Last drink call will be at 7 p.m., so please make sure you visit the bar prior to that time, and bathrooms are located outside in the lobby area to your left, and also please make sure that you have your meal tags present on the table so we can ensure you get the right meal.
Presenting our invocation tonight is Bishop Carl Ernest Clark Jr., and Bishop Clark will be followed by Lauren Legon, who will sing the Black National Anthem. Bishop Clark.
I will ask everyone to bow their heads all over the room as we go to the throne of grace in prayer. Dear Lord, we come to you in humility and giving thanks for life as we celebrate this 44th annual NAACP Freedom Fund Dinner. On February 12, 1909, the world witnessed the birth of one of the greatest civil rights organizations in America and perhaps the entire world. We thank you, God, for raising up soldiers of justice and freedom, those men and women that laid the groundwork to build a platform for our voices to be heard throughout the world. We honor those people that sacrificed their lives for us. And because of those sacrifices, we are standing here today of every persuasion, declaring and decreeing that where there is injustice, we stand for all people. May the love of God reign in our hearts and dominate the atmosphere with his divine presence and love. Amen and amen.
Thank you, Bishop Clark, for, in the words of my grandfather, he would say, thank you for giving me that spiritual supper. So at this time, it is our pleasure to introduce Laura Logan. She will sing the lyrics from the Black National Anthem. You can follow along on page 26 of your journal.
Good evening. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Bring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for joining us this evening to sing the Black National Anthem. So before we introduce the next segment of the program for this evening, I would like to introduce and recognize the president, Gwendolyn Muok, and members of the Syracuse Onondaga County NAACP Board of Directors. Can you just wave? All right, there you are. Thank you. Thank you for your leadership. I'd also like to recognize our local and state elected officials. Thank you for all that you do, especially for your support of the NAACP. And so I would also like our elected officials, and some are sitting here at this table, but I know there are more in the room. Please wave. We need to recognize you. And now I'd like to introduce Gwendolyn Muok, president of the chapter. Please welcome President Muok, who will welcome and give welcome remarks this evening and read information. You can find more about President Muok on page 4 of your journal ad this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Syracuse. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and fellow advocates for equality and justice. I am Gwendolyn Muok, president of the Syracuse Onondaga NAACP. That is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the nation's oldest, boldest, largest, and most widely recognized grassroots-based civil rights organization. Back in January, we held a What MLK Means to Me oratorical event for fifth graders at the STEAM School at Dr. King, and one of the trivia questions that was asked at the end of them reading their essays was, what does the NAACP stand for? Only one student raised his hand. Tonight, we want to recognize that one student as well as the other 14 students from MLK that recited their essays to us. And we also want to recognize all of the other students in the room tonight. Could you please stand? I am honored to welcome you to our 44th Annual Freedom Fund Award Dinner. This evening is a special occasion as we come together to celebrate the achievements and contributions of local organizations and individuals who have dedicated their lives to advancing civil rights and social justice in our community. As we gather here tonight, we are reminded of the importance of the work that we can do each day to ensure that all individuals are treated with dignity, respect, and equality under the law. We continue to fight against discrimination, oppression, and injustice in all of its forms. And we stand united in our commitment to building a more just and equitable society for all. Tonight, we will honor those who have made a significant impact in our community and beyond. Those who have shown courage and determination in the face of adversity, and those who have inspired us with their unwavering commitment to the cause of civil rights. I am proud to be a part of this incredible organization and to stand alongside each and every one of you as we continue our important work. Thank you for your dedication, your passion, and your unwavering commitment to our fight for justice and equality. Let us celebrate tonight, but let us also remember that our work is far from over. Let us recommit ourselves to the fight for civil rights and social justice. And let us continue to stand together as we strive for a better, more inclusive future for all. Thank you, and please enjoy this wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, President Muok. At this point, we'd like to bring up Steve Becker for a check presentation. Steve's been a member and generous supporter of the Syracuse Onondaga County NAACP for many years. Each year, the proceeds from the coat check at the very popular Syracuse Winter Fair at the fairgrounds, an event that he hosts annually for the Syracuse community, are donated to the Syracuse Onondaga NAACP. We thank Steve for his generous donation, both of treasure and of time. Let's give him a round of applause now. Steve? He's coming. There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Steve, where's the money? Where's the money? It's like an awards show. It takes a long time to get up here. Don't run, you might hurt yourself.
I will be going down to the NAACP office to present it a check for $500, and that will go to their investment into this community. And we want to thank the NAACP. They have been fantastic with Winter Fair, and we'll be doing it again in 2025 and raising more money. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's not rush winter. Let's not rush winter, but let's thank Steve. Thank you very much, Steve. Melanie?
Thank you. You know, since the last time we met, and this one is very personal for me, we lost beloved members of our community. So I'm going to ask all of you to join me in a moment of silence for 3 of the most wonderful and impactful human beings and leaders and warriors this community has seen. First, Marjorie Clark, who was the first Black teacher in the Syracuse City School District. Second, Willie Morgan, another great community leader. And Willie was a founding member of this local, so thank you, Willie. And the last was this week. Many of you know him as the Honorable Judge Langston McKinney. A wisdom keeper, a community leader, a friend, and a brother-in-law. So may all 3 rest in power, but may we garner their legacies and keep them alive in our actions and our commitment to justice and equality. Thank you.
Melanie, thank you. I know that was difficult. I know that was difficult at the end. You talk about your brother-in-law living on and living with us still. I just want you to know that he does and did this week in our newsroom, where colleagues of mine like Matt Mulcahy and Megan Coleman and others were reminiscing about covering cases in his courtroom. And I got to tell you, coming to Syracuse as a 20-something kid who thought he knew it all, it only took about 2 seconds inside Judge McKinney's courtroom for you to realize that you were in the big time, you didn't know a damn thing about anything, and he was going to shape a lot of people up, potentially including you. So he does live on through the stories that we tell. I want you to know that.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I lost my place in the program. Have mercy. So certainly it's my hope that everyone is enjoying dinner. Maybe? No? Almost? Close.
Soon.
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 So we're all very excited. We're going to keep the program going because I don't know if I shared that Mimi's 9-month-old is waiting for her at home. So
we gotta go.
Yes, we're going to keep us moving. So we're all excited for the next portion of our program, which is a special award presentation honoring individuals and organizations of the Syracuse and Central New York who epitomize the awards specially created for this evening's event. For each presentation, we will announce the name of the award and our honoree, which the video for our honoree will play. And I ask humbly that everyone hold their applause until after the video. Honorees and presenters, I ask that you approach the stage at the conclusion of your video presentation to receive your award. And a huge shout out and thank you to some of my favorites. The phenomenal Black Cub Productions. I just love Black Cub Productions for creating tonight's videos. To begin this most important part of the evening, the recognition of our 2024 Freedom Fund Dinner and Emmett Till Award honorees.
And at this time, we are proud to present the recipient of the Harriet Tubman Freedom Award to the United Way of Central New York. Accepting the award on behalf of the United Way is my friend Nancy Kern-Eaton, who is the president of that agency, and presenting the award, honorary co-chair Angelia Johnson, the CEO of Noise Consulting Group.
When we first learned of being the recipient of this reward, it was pure elation. Nan, obviously the president of the United Way of Central New York, shared it with me, and I could just see the excitement and the joy on her face. The United Way, we do what we do. We serve every day. We try to bring people together. We try to help serve those in need. We don't do it for recognition or accolades, but to be recognized in this capacity was very significant to us, so we really were glad to be recognized in this way. I think we all strive for a society where everyone is able to reach their full potential, regardless of their color, regardless of where they come from, their background. And I think that the United Way really works hard to make sure that we are serving the needs of others so that everyone has full access and the ability to be able to reach their full potential. So I'm proud that United Way serves as an umbrella organization. We're bringing together all people under that umbrella to make sure that we all are covered and have full access to the things that we need to be successful in today's society. So I'm excited about the future of the United Way because we really work to make sure that we are evolving and meeting the needs of not only the people that we serve, but also meeting the needs of those who are giving to our campaigns. We were able to raise over $2 million that we gave to organizations in the community, again, to support their programs that are helping people with human basic needs. So we're looking at different ways to be able to provide opportunities for people to give. And we're finding that people really like to come together. They like to have social interaction and social engagement. So we're finding different ways to be able to encourage people to come together, but also to give. For example, we did have a gala. We were celebrating our 100th year 3 years ago. We had a gala that was supposed to be 1 year, but people loved it so much we're now in our 3rd year of having that gala. But again, people love being able to come together and being able to provide resources, again, to help the United Way, because we realize that it's important that we provide avenues for people to give in a way that they're comfortable with. Our theme is United, We Do More, and that means that everyone coming together, everyone in their respective arenas, everyone being able to do their part. United, we do more.
Our next 2 award recipients will receive the Linda Brown Robinson and Van Robinson Lifetime Achievement Awards. Our first recipient is Agnes McCrae, and presenting this award will be Linda Brown Robinson, co-chair of this event and the New York State NAACP Conference Western Region Director, and Van Robinson, former president of the Syracuse Common Council and member of the Syracuse NAACP Board of Directors. As the presenter and the honorees make their way to the front of the room, let's watch the video.
My name is Agnes McCrae, and I have many titles. I am board president of my independent living organization civil rights for persons with extravagant differences. And for everyone to know, that's just my word for disabilities, because I'm extravagant and there's nothing disabling about myself as a person and what I do and have been able to accomplish. But I also was sit on many more boards and advocate all around. It's really great to receive this award from representing both Linda Van Robinson and her husband Van Robinson, who have worked with the Atmosphere changed many laws together in the Common Council. Chambers, as we've made it accessible for everyone in the community can benefit from. So I really think that is fantastic, and I'm so proud that the Common Council chambers are now more accessible thanks to him really listening to my voice and others' voices. I didn't realize or recognize how different I was until I came to America, because I'm originally from the Caribbean, where there's all different types of multicultural people and persons living together in the community, and it's not separated. I didn't realize how challenges it would be, because I had a disability, extraordinary differences, until I came and wanted to go to school for the first time, because I was homeschooled in the Caribbean because of islands. And so it was hard having to have my dreams crushed, because I wanted to live independently and have my family and be productive, you know. And when I saw that that wasn't for me, but for all of my brothers and sisters and the people around me, you know, I just started from that point on. I thought to be successful, you had to be able to put one foot in front of the other. And for me to be successful, I had to be okay with me. And I wanted people to know others like me and beyond myself, that you could be whoever you want to be, because greatness starts with the person that's within, and then everything will follow. To make the change, you will have to really be the change. And when it gets tough or difficult, I will always look at that award, and it will remind me why I'm there, and that I have to focus on the task at hand.
Folks, bear with us 1 second. We are going to make a picture happen that could probably break the internet. So just bear with us just a moment as Van gets over there. Thank you all. Thank you all for bearing with us there. That's quite a picture. That is quite a picture. The second recipient of the Linda Brown Robinson and Van B. Robinson Lifetime Achievement Award is the Spanish Action League, La Liga. Accepting the award on behalf of La Liga is the Executive Director, Elisa Morales. Presenting the award will be Linda Brown Robinson, the co-chair of this event tonight. Let's watch the video.
My name is Elisa Morales, and I'm the Executive Director of the Spanish Action League, also known as La Liga. The Linda Robinson and Van Robinson Achievement Award means so much. It's near and dear to my heart because they are near and dear to my heart. They're really trailblazers in New York State. They've set a lot of examples in leadership that have really impacted me and influenced me in my leadership. So the fact that my agency under my leadership is now being recognized for the amazing work that we do, it's just, I'm humbled by it, I'm honored by it, and so proud. So I'm a domestic violence and sexual violence survivor. So for me, it was really important to live my life like we weren't put on this earth to see through each other, but rather to see each other through. So I wanted to give back to my community because there were a lot of people that were instrumental in my transitioning from victim to survivor. And I've just dedicated my life to saving the world and, aligning myself with others who are helping our community to thrive and to survive, their different circumstances. We've been able to serve people who come from different backgrounds, different Latino countries, who don't necessarily know what domestic violence and sexual violence is. It's not identified in their countries. For me, who, was made on the island of Puerto Rico, but born in the United States, and I learned English with Sesame Street, but I dominate the English language. But even for me, I fell through a lot of cracks through the legal system, and now it's just inspired me to help us improve those different systems, but also make sure that language services is something that we can fill that gap, and so that people can express themselves and understand what the different laws and what the different rights are that people have. That's very empowering for us as an agency, but also for myself as a survivor to be able to, continue the work and see all of these beautiful people emerge from the ugliest situations. So one of the exciting projects that La Liga is currently working on is starting our very first affordable housing portfolio called La Liga Westside Village. So we're really looking at the new trends of our neighborhoods. We're looking at how we can improve the lives and give people a home sweet home that they could be proud to live in, whether they're going to live there indefinitely for the rest of their life, or whether they're just going to live there temporarily and then transition into homeowners right in our own neighborhoods where our scattered sites will be located. We've got really excellent partnership with the NAACP NAACP to be able to serve our community better. And we're looking forward to many more years of collaborations in this partnership, and the sky really is the limit for La Liga and the NAACP.
So our next award recipient will receive the Madam C.J. Walker Small Business Award. The interesting part about this next recipient is I've known her since she's been 6 years old. So very important and powerful that I get a chance to give her this award. So Who Want Smoke is Madam C.J. Walker's Small Business Award honoree, Tamika Barnett, who will join us to the stage to accept this award following her video.
My name is Tamika Barnett. I am the owner and grill master for Who Want Smoke Barbecue and Catering. I'm honored to receive the Madam C.J. Walker Small Business Award for Who Want Smoke Barbecue and Catering. Madam C.J. Walker she had like a social responsibility. I grew up on the east side of Syracuse in like a low-income neighborhood where you didn't really see a lot of role models. Like you didn't see a lot of people where you can identify and be like, I want to be like that person when I grow up. So for me, I was a firm believer that the hood never really lacked talent, it always lacked resources. So I felt like I had a social responsibility because I'm successful in the things that I do, and there's a lot of people that feel like I shouldn't be in the positions that I'm in, but I'm here. I break a lot of glass ceilings, so my thing is once you break barriers, you reach back and you bring people with you. And the people that I love to bring are teenagers. I've started Who Want Smoke in August of 2020, and I saw a need, especially working for the fire department. The pandemic had just hit. Restaurants were closing. People weren't that great at cooks as our call volume went up, and I love to cook. I really felt like it was a time when morale was bad for the community and people really didn't know what was going on. And I truly believe that people come together, they bond over food. One of the things that I'm looking to do is probably purchase a building for Who Want Smoke. I don't really want a restaurant. I enjoy being a caterer, cooking at will, but I do wish that I had an event space that I can rent to people because it seems like there's a true need for that here. And then also with an industrial kitchen so that I can continue to teach teenagers how to cook because I feel like that's a life skill. The way that I design the programs that I do with teens is I'm teaching, but I'm teaching them what they want to know. So I pretty much just schedule the program out and they fill it in with what they want to learn. And I think that's what keeps them interested. Instead of me saying, today you're going to learn how to make ziti, I gather the students and say, what do you want to know how to cook? What's your favorite food? Make sure you know how to cook what you like. It's a life skill, and they typically enjoy it. And then there's the customer service aspect, meaning they say that our teens really can't interact. They don't have any interpersonal skills. So I get them a lot of FaceTime with people in the community, local elected officials, business owners, where they're actually meeting them, having to have conversations versus text and just online. I have to be the change that I wish to see, and I have to make sure that I'm walking the walk and talking the talk and being that mentor and role model that the younger generation may need to be successful.
And presenting this award will be Evelyn Ingram. Good. Evelyn and Tamika.
The Earl G. Graves Corporate Award goes to Onondaga Community College. And accepting the award tonight is Dr. Warren Hilton, the president of OCC, and Joanie Mahoney, the president of SUNY ESF, is presenting the award.
My name is Dr. Warren Hilton, president of Onondaga Community College. What we have done at Onondaga Community College is really put a focus in on marginalized populations. We believe in helping all of our community. Doesn't matter to us whether you have $0 in the bank or $1 million in the bank. Doesn't matter if your name is Michael, Marquise, Muhammad, Haley, Habibi. We really want you to be successful, and what we've put in place are a system where we try to help students not fall through the cracks, and we launched the Student Success Challenge to reduce the equity gap at our institution by 50% by 2026. Because of that, I believe Onondaga Community College embodies the principles of the Earl G. Graves Corporate Community Award. We are the workforce development engine for Central New York. When we look at the critical workforce shortages that we see in our community, those are the type of jobs that are much needed, whether it's nursing or being a surgical technologist or working in the semiconductor industry or the social service, human service industry. Whatever that industry is, we're preparing students to take on those roles that are much needed in our community. And we're doing it in a way where we're providing a diverse workforce for our community. And we're happy to partner with the many organizations, community organizations, educational organizations, business, industry, labor unions to accomplish that goal for Central New York. You know, I grew up in the inner city of Philadelphia, and just like many of our faculty and staff, in that process, I had a number of people who helped me, and that drives us every single day to do the best that we can do for our students, right? To help our students when they're at their best, to help our students when they're having challenges. And we're seeing some of those really nice results in our enrollment and some of the impact that we're able to have in the community. And when we, call out names like Lanessa Owens and Daryl Dykes and, Hasina Adams and people that are well known in the community, and, help people understand that they got their start at a place like Onondaga Community College, and they're having such impact in our community now. It is an amazing thing, and it keeps us driving to do even more for our current students and our future students.
So at this time, I'm certainly proud to present the recipient of the A. Philip Randolph Central New York Union Award to the CNY Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, CBTU, in the House. Presenting this award will be Alberto Bianchetti, representing National Grid as a sponsor. So thank you, National Grid, and congratulations to Audra Johnson, President, and will be accepting the award on behalf of CBTU is Bernard Washington. And so if both Audra, Bernard, and Alberto will make their way to the stage following the video.
My name is Andre Johnson. I am the president of Central New York Coalition of Black Trade Unions. What the award represents for me and our work is our hard work. We are strictly volunteers. No one is mandated to participate in this organization. The only stipulation to join us is you have to be a union member. What this award has done to the community, I think, has given the community a voice, and it's also given the community an avenue to obtain good jobs. The role that unions plays in the labor market for communities of color definitely fair pay. With union jobs, normally it's a set rate no matter what ethnicity or title you currently have. It also allows people of color to obtain jobs as well. We actually are the first organization in the Central New York organization that actually had a job fair. 30% of the individuals who applied for jobs were successful. And I have to add that currently in the Syracuse Police Academy, an individual who attended that is number 2 on the list, and he has his choice between the Syracuse Police or the sheriffs. Most job fairs in Central New York are not being held in the areas that we held our job fairs. I mean, it's being held at the malls, it's being held downtown. We are bringing the jobs to the minority areas, inner city locations, so inner city people can apply for these jobs. Now, these job fairs are not designed just for inner city people. We are actually advertising at SU, we are advertising at OCC, Lemoyne, and the area high schools. And I have to stress the area high schools because a lot of the high schools, such like those at Fowler, have vocational classes where they're designed for builds, trades, so forth and so on. So we can have those schools notified of these job fairs that we're having, these young individuals hopefully have an avenue for a very good paying job. So we want to make it easier for those who may not have the resources or don't have the opportunities to apply for these jobs. As long as the community is employed, that's what we are ultimately looking to achieve.
People zoom in on pictures now. This year's recipient of the Oprah Winfrey Philanthropy Award is the Allen Foundation, presenting the award. That's not fair. They've got Rashida Caldwell at their table. That is not fair. That is not fair. The Oprah Winfrey Philanthropy Award is the Allen Foundation. They are the recipients, and presenting the award, Vinnie Lobdell.
My name is Margaret Meg O'Connell, and I'm the Executive Director of the Allen Family Foundation. The foundation is very honored to receive the Oprah Winfrey Philanthropic Award. And I should say that we usually don't like to receive awards, right? If we're doing a good job, we should just be doing a good job, right? But I think what I love about the Oprah Winfrey Award and what it stands for from the NAACP is this acknowledgement that we are aligned and we are in solidarity. We have the same mission and goals in Syracuse about creating more opportunities for individuals of color, trying to create a more inclusive community where everyone feels welcome. The Allen Family Foundation has been in existence for the past 70 years through the generosity of the Allen family. Their vision and their commitment to Central New York is really embodied in the concept that they are all in. And it means that they want to work with people in the community to address the challenges of racism, poverty, inequities in any way that they can play a role to partner with organizations and residents and the community. The Salt City Market is probably the best testament to the work, the vision, and the commitment of the Allen family to Central New York, and specifically to Syracuse. You know, we talk about the separation in our community, and we talk about the racism that happens, and yet we have very few spaces and places where everyone in the community feels welcome and they can gather. And that building, that was the intentional strategy behind that building. And it today is such a success because the community feels a part of it. They feel like they can go there. They feel like they're welcome. I think what it's also a testament to, and what was important to us, is that we have 26 mixed income apartments in that building. And so we are really excited that in our next iteration, we have now purchased the Chimes building across the street, which we are converting into 152 mixed income apartments to continue to try and get the community to embrace what we know works and what speaks to the future of Syracuse. Our vision over the next few years is to continue to try and do significant changes or significant projects in the community that will be the change that will reflect our visions and goals for a more equitable, vibrant, and prosperous community.
Carol Nappy is coming up to present the award. Carol?
Thank you. Thanks for doing this.
Next to the stage is the recipient of the May, McKinney, and Melchor Freedom and Justice Award. To Joseph J. Heath, presenting the award, our honorary co-chair, Laurence Bousquet, the founding partner of Bousquet Holstein.
I'm Joe Heath. My day job is General Counsel for the Onondaga Nation. And I say it that way because I do a lot of other work in addition to working for the nation. The nation works with its neighbors in cooperative ways, and so they want me to be working on other work as well. Bill May, Langston McKinney, and Henry Melchor, groundbreakers here in Syracuse, first black law firm. And each of them contributed significantly to racial justice in this community, particularly my good friend Langston McKinney, who was the first black judge on our city court, and he made a big difference. And so to be associated with those three groundbreakers is an honor. I grew up in upstate New York, 45 miles north of here, in northern Oswego County. That town is still 98.4% white. And so what we have in New York is a system of apartheid, where most of the people of color live in the cities. And once you get outside a major city, you have counties that are 95, 96, 97% white. The results of that are really ugly. They're particularly ugly against Native Americans, but they're also ugly in terms of national racism. The Oklahoma City bomber came from upstate New York, and the most recent mass murder in Buffalo came from Dunkirk, where he researched where he could find enough people of color that he could go slaughter. I have an obligation as a white person who grew up in that and who has been lucky enough to be educated about it, to work with people to change that, to break down the systematic racism that prevails in upstate New York. We had a saying in the 70s, the people united could never be defeated, can never be defeated. And unless we organize and work together, this system will continue to push us apart, to create barriers, and to continue to exploit every one of us that they can. And so we have to organize, we have to work together. That's what I've learned.
So at this time, I'm proud to present the recipient of the Mary McLeod Bethune Educator Award to Miss Millie McDade Woods. Yes, yes. And presenting the award, we will present the award
right after
to
we watch the
Miss
video.
Millie McDade Woods after the video.
My name is Millie McDade Woods. I guess I can say I'm a former teacher, community advocacy, parent, and all of those kind of things that involve empowering people. That's what I do. That's my passion. Mary knew that underprivileged people needed an education. She knew that. And she, as you know, started a school with really nothing. And that has been my philosophy and my family philosophies all of my life. I've always believed that the avenue to empowerment and to freedom was education. That's what I believed in. When people are not empowered through education, it's difficult to really actually be too successful. So at the top of my list is education and spirituality. They all go hand in hand with, as far as I'm concerned. And so her legacy rubbed off on me. She wanted to empower people, and that's what I do daily. Matter of fact, as I said, the students that I had when they were 11 years old in the 7th grade, right now, to this very day, to this very moment, we're in contact with each other. That's the influence that I think I had on them, but it's now full circle. They want to get involved with the NAACP to see how they can make a difference. Matter of fact, they have a project that's going on right now that they brought and introduced to me about going back to the community, curtailing and working with the violence. I created an organization called Connecting Soul to Soul, turning pain into power. And I certainly do believe that if we work at it, all of this pain that we see can turn into something that's profitable and be able to empower the communities and go back to historically how we were. We have to go back and reclaim some of the traditions and values that families lived by years ago.
Presenting the award will be Dr. Twiggy Ure. Dr. Twiggy Ure will be presenting the award.
Congratulations to all of our 2024 Freedom Fund honorees. Syracuse and Central New York are so deeply blessed to have you part of our community. Tonight, we're also honoring some NAACP unsung heroes with the Emmett Till Award. As I call your name, please join us here at the podium to accept this award tonight. The recipients are Rashida Caldwell, Ossie Edwards, Ken Jackson, George and Leslie Laurence, and Emily Pengel. Let's all shift over. The recipients of the Emmett Till Award, ladies and gentlemen. A round of applause for all of them, all together, please. It can feel on this side of the podium sometimes, because it takes a while to come up, sometimes the giving of the award takes a little bit. It can sometimes feel like the applause is lost on the recipient, so I wanted to make sure that those folks heard that. And thank all of those recipients for their continued and really consistent support of this local chapter of the NAACP. Thank you.
Certainly, as this brings the award portion of our evening to a close, I want to ask all of you to indulge us just for one more second, because the next portion of our program will be a powerful one. Just to continue what we've started tonight in terms of the recognition of warriors for justice, everyone that we've seen tonight. But as we prepare ourselves now for our keynote speaker, let me bring to the podium someone that we have all grown to love and admire, and we are now calling him a Syracusan, actually. My pleasure and privilege to bring to the stage Dr. Robert Simmons III, the director of Micron Gives North and honorary co-chair, to introduce our keynote speaker, Martin Luther King III.
In 1973, in Atlanta, Georgia, my mother and father graduated from Morehouse College and Spelman College. It is this intersection with Martin Luther King III, a 1979 graduate of Morehouse College, that brings this moment full circle for me in a deeply personal manner. What makes this even more personal as I introduce Martin Luther King III is the original copy of your mother's book, My Life with Martin Luther King Jr., signed by your mother for my father. Inside the cover of this book, it is written, "To Robert Simmons, with appreciation and all good wishes, Coretta Scott King." Furthermore, there is an additional insert on the front cover that is signed by Mrs. King and her children, including our keynote speaker. While I would never call him anything other than Martin Luther King III, I do want to point out that he signed the inside cover, and I have evidence, Marty. That's how you signed it, just making a point. Martin Luther King III has spent his life as an active participant in social justice movements, politics, and fighting for human rights. His presence here in Syracuse this evening with the NAACP is a reminder that his father also made the same journey to Syracuse in 1965, a few months after Bloody Sunday on the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma. He spoke to a crowd of almost 1,000 people about issues we are still dealing with today. Such issues as discriminatory housing practices and employment practices, as well as segregation in our education system. Martin Luther King III once said, "I'm proud of my father, but my pride cannot be fully measured by that snapshot in history. Because contrary to first glance, my father's legacy comes not from his presiding over the final act in the drama of fighting for equal rights. His legacy is about setting the stage. With that in mind, we are reminded that the stage has been set for Syracuse and in Onondaga County to continue the fight for equal rights and justice, because the journey is not complete. Mr. King, thank you for your enduring commitment to the justice conditions of communities throughout this world, and welcome to Syracuse.
Thank you so much for a very warm introduction. And I must first thank God for the opportunity to be back in Syracuse for this 44th dinner of the NAACP. Congratulations to all of the honorees, and to the leadership president, the board, the supporters of the NAACP. My hope, because when you get up to speak, you don't always know, is that I'm short and effective. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. I come out of a family of Baptist preachers, so you can laugh a little bit on that. My grandfather was, my father, my great-grandfather was actually, my father and his brother were, my sister is, my cousins are. but I'm not a Baptist preacher. So my intention is to be short and hopefully effective in continuing to challenge the organization for what it has done as the oldest and largest civil rights organization in our nation, but also to promote what my father would have entitled as the beloved community. My mother, after my dad, worked on creating the beloved community as well. There are certainly a lot of very, very special people in Syracuse. And I'm here, honored to be here, but today is my wife and I's 18th anniversary. And my grandfather used to say, if you counted the time we courted, it probably goes to like 25, 26 years. But in all seriousness, I had an opportunity to meet a person here in this community, Vinnie Abdel. And on the King holiday, we were in Tampa that night at the wild card game. And Vinnie helped us to get there. And he immediately started thinking about the NAACP. He said, look, can we get you to come and speak? And I said, well, that's my anniversary. You need to talk to my wife. I said, I've gotten in trouble a lot of times, so I don't know. And so he went and spoke with her and got her engaged, and she was supposed to come with me. Our daughter's birthday is Saturday, Sweet 16. So there's a lot going on. And so she had to sort of back out. But I just wanted to give the backstory on what brought us here this time. Now, I've been to Syracuse probably 8 or 9 times, or 7 or 8 times over the years. So there are a lot of individuals that I've met here. But maybe 12, 15 years ago, one of our friends and great philanthropic family in this community supporting this event tonight, Sam and Carol Nappy. And I came when the Ernie Davis Field was named. I hadn't been here in a while when I arrived then. And I came again well, at the time that Sam and Carol brought the Dalai Lama here. And I had the wonderful honor to participate on a program at Syracuse with His Holiness. In fact, we were in India in March and had the opportunity to meet with him in his home, His Holiness's. And I got to say this, of course, having an opportunity to interact with all, I see, of course, Justin Nappy is here also, who's, one of the things he does is makes films. Sam and Carol worked with us at the King Center when I was president in 2010, and we had, one of the major things we did was a project that I can directly say, we went in with Sam and met with Chase Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and they digitized all the records of my father so that a child who may be in China can go online and learn about Martin Luther King Jr. So I will always hold Sam and Carol, Justin, and also your sister in very close regard. Now, let me get into the meat of what I want to say, because I'm really come before you with a heavy heart. I never could have imagined that in 2024, we as a nation would be as divided as we are. And there are times when I felt my father and mother spinning over in their graves, because we are supposed to be further along. Many women and men have opened doors that should never be closed. I never thought I would live in a nation where history would be being taken out of our school system, particularly history around people of color, history, and in a nation that purports to be free. And yet, that happens. History that says a Holocaust didn't happen. Deniers of that which is truth. Somewhere I read that ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And so we got a lot of repair work to do. And it starts with each and every one of us. Earlier today, I had the opportunity to meet with members of police and, well, law enforcement, because the sheriff was there, the DA was there, community leaders were there, community-based organizations were there. And the discussion was about how to build community and to engage appropriately with police so there's not this consistent combativeness. And it was a very interesting conversation that is a constant work in progress. Progress, in some regard, has been made. But for some reason, we get distracted. And some catastrophe occurs. And then it seems like we have to go right back to where we started to make progress. But I was honored to be a part of that discussion and sort of share a perspective I have. As we were talking about criminal justice, we were talking about, a few comments around indigent defense. I did not remember that Syracuse has some of the poorest communities in the nation. And I was saddened because that's one thing, not about Syracuse, but about our nation, that is perplexing. Now, my father talked about the eradication of triple evils that he defined as the evil of poverty, the evil of racism and bigotry, and the evil of violence. And he worked throughout his life to eradicate those evils. My mom, for many, many more years, worked to eradicate those evils. And now, my wife and I are working to eradicate those evils. But not just my wife and I, also our daughter. So I want us to focus a moment. I have the speech that's 24 pages. I'm obviously not going to read all that. I wasn't sure before I came up, but I feel like sometimes God puts something on your heart, and an extemporaneous perspective works better. So I wonder what my mother and father would be thinking about where we are. Democracy is on the ballot, by the way, in November 5th. And we really have to focus on what we as a nation want to become. Civility is thrown out of the window temporarily. We used to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. Dad and Mom gave us examples, but many elected officials also did. They would forge different positions and different points of view and say, well, I don't agree with you on that, but these are the things we can agree on. Unfortunately, some in Congress now are just name-calling. And I think our children see that and want to become disengaged. I'm not talking about students, that's different, but I'm talking about young people. Why would you want to engage in a dysfunctional situation? Well, some would say we live in a nation that is dysfunctionally functional. Because when you evaluate certain things that people do, you come to the conclusion that I don't know how smart that is. Most times, many times it's not. There are things that are good and just and right. And then we have the advent of one of the greatest parts of technology, which is the internet. But it sends inconsistent messages. There are more suicides now because a kid did something. And you can kind of navigate through one or two people knowing. But when your whole school knows about your shame, it takes it to another level. And as I researched a few things and noticed that those who create the technology, many of them, they don't allow their kids to use the technology until they're adults. That ought to say something to you. Because we enjoy the benefit of being able to reach our kids, but it's very difficult to monitor all that they're ingesting. And what they are ingesting, what they're engaged in, is probably more times not good than good. So we got to figure out, how do we change the paradigm so we maximize the technology for good to the greatest degree? I don't know the answer to that. I just know that we got to do something because it is creating so much hostility and hatred. The direction that we are headed in today is not sustainable. Humankind will wipe itself out. You know, great civilizations, Greek, Rome, other civilizations, they existed for a while in history. All of a sudden, then, they're no longer great because of some of the things that they chose to do. We call ourselves the United States of America, but yet we're not united. We argue and fight over everything. Some things we do need to fight over, but we need to figure out, how do we do it in a constructive way? Now, what my father and mother did was to embrace the philosophy of nonviolence, which teaches us how to live together without destroying either person or property. And our society doesn't understand that yet. In the old biblical days, it was an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And if we choose to embrace that philosophy, all of us will be without eyes and teeth. And so that obviously is not it. We have to figure out, how do we move to a higher level? How do we move to higher ground? How do we really build the beloved community? Dad's last book was entitled, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? That was in 1967. 67 years ago. He prophetically wrote this book. One of the chapters is called The World House. And we must somehow work to get to that level. And guess what? It's not an individual. It's not one family. It is really bringing all of us together. It's not just, those of us who are older. It's not just elected officials. It's the entire community. If we really want to bring about change, it has to be the organizational, the political leaders, the business leaders, the religious leaders, every segment of our community. And it has to be young people at the same seat at the table that others of us are. We cannot build a sustainable plan the way that some of us are going about it in some of our communities. What is AI going to do? What do I mean by that? Well, I'm here tonight, my voice is authentic. AI can create me, or you, or any of us, and say things that are happening that are not happening. I read some months ago about a lady who said she created an image of herself, and she was able to withdraw money from her bank, so she fooled her bankers. She was able to fool her parents. And I don't know how we're going to, there's a great side to AI, really great. May provide cures for cancer in the next less than 5 years, and all kind of things. But that part of it that we don't know yet how to manage is frightening. Now, I'm not saying we need to engage in fear-mongering, because, again, that's part of our problem as a nation. We are engaging and embracing our fears and not our faith. Now, by the way, I hope pastors don't take this comment wrong. I'm not talking about religion. Religion is a part of it, but I'm talking about faith. I'm talking about foundation. I'm talking about values. And what we are doing is embracing fear. That's why we have so many guns in our society. I used to hear Dick Gregory say, faith and fear cannot inhabit the same space. And I traveled with Dick Gregory around the world from time to time. And I really thought about that, and I'm blessed to have a strong and faithful foundation. It doesn't mean I don't get afraid sometimes, but I always look to my faith. When a couple of years ago we were working to restore voting rights, because what has been done is voting rights are being suppressed. Not just for the purpose of suppression, but and it's not just racism. Some of it is race, but it's really about a certain political party deciding how do we retain power. So we make it harder for someone else to vote who I think is going to vote for my opponent. And it manifests itself through several different formats of voter suppression. It's real. You know, in our own state of Georgia, if you and we voted last week in a primary election, you can't bring water to a senior standing in line. It's a misdemeanor. The legislature voted for this. I'm like, I don't get, I do understand it, but I'm like, what are you thinking about? People in some precincts have to stand in line for hours. That's all over, in many parts of the country, by the way. And there are all kinds of other things that are put in place. So we are rapidly losing what we say we are as a democratic, or as a democracy. Because legislative bodies are voting, certainly in Florida. Even in my state, they've done it, but they haven't executed. So a duly elected representative by the people, if a particular party doesn't like what they're doing, a district attorney, as DeSantis did in Florida, removed 2 of them. Now, how do you call that a democracy? Because the legislature kind of broke the law to accomplish what they wanted to do. They were elected, these DAs, by people. Now, it's a different thing if they did a crime. Then yes, perhaps you should be removed if you've done a crime, or you should step down temporarily. But that wasn't what happened. And those same kind of rules exist in my state of Georgia. So the legislature passed them. They just have not implemented in terms of executing them yet. And there are several states. And that's just one of many things. Somehow we have to create a strategic plan for inclusion of everyone. You know, in your city, you've got a great corporate citizen institution that is bringing a chip facility here, Micron. Huge. You all know this. Over 7,000 good jobs, really good jobs are going to be here. But you got to make sure that those who have brought this city where it is are a significant part of the workforce. But also, that's why the system of education also has to be reformed so that we are focused on creating young people, a pipeline of young people who are qualified to engage with these jobs. Now, actually, it's a little late, but it's never too late to structure a school system. When I was, many years ago, there was a system in Chicago. It's probably been 30 years now. And there was a school that only served underprivileged children, mostly African American, not all, but mostly. And that school was called the Marva Collins School. Every last one of those kids graduated, and most of them with A's and B's. So if they could do it at that one school, why can't we do it at all schools? Now, we have magnet schools. We have several schools around the country that are working to do some of that. But my point is, the model is there, the blueprint. Why are we not just engaging the blueprint after all this time? Because there are still kids graduating from schools who just barely can read. That is beyond unacceptable in the United States of America. And that's because someone does not care. That must change. I was earlier saying that in a country with a multi-trillion-dollar economy, how do we have the audacity to have poor people, homeless people? Some talk about it publicly and are working to do something. like the Poor People's Campaign, and the leadership that is talking about it. Because it's very frightening that there may be nearly 100 million people living in poverty. But because ABC, CBS, CNN, all the news outlets, they're not saying it. And many of our elected officials, not to just be disparaging of them, but they focus on middle class because the middle class generally is able to vote or does vote. But we should also be focusing on the poor. I don't know that we can wipe poverty out, but we certainly can reduce it substantially. When I go to any city in America and see all the opulence, and every day there's a project, when I say a project, building. It might be housing, it might be technology, it might be being erected in every city. I see the cranes moving every day. And we don't yet have the capacity to lift the quality of life. And I'm not talking about giving people a fish. There may be a population that we have to give fish to take care of. But we must teach people to fish so that they can, and that means that's that foundation, so that they can feed themselves and their families. These are not issues that we can't work to resolve if we're focused, if we're dedicated, if we're determined. Everything in life, any business person will tell you that he or she had a strategic plan, and they planned their work, and they worked their plan until it became what it is. It's very rare that it's just by osmosis. I just accidentally ran into these millions. No. There may be an occasion or two where something accidentally happens. So if we can have strategic plans to build the largest businesses in the world, why do we not have strategic plans to build the greatest generation in the world? You know, I'm going to be finished very, very shortly now, because I just wanted to drop a few things for you to consider as Syracuse continues to grow and thrive. And Micron being here is going to be a significant addition and what it brings. But community has to make sure that you're engaged. Do not become complacent and say, I don't want to deal with that. Because most of us, certainly all of us who are here, you could be in any other community. You've chosen this community. Maybe you were born here, but you love it. And when you love something, you have to nurture it. You have to grow it. You have to keep working on it until you work it out. That's part of the personification of community. You know, my father had many struggles and challenges from 1955 when he was thrust on the stage in Montgomery, when Rosa Parks on December 1st sat down on a bus. And he and his team were able to convince 385 days people not to ride buses. That was a major demonstration. Just as the sit-in movement, the Freedom Rides first, to desegregate transportation in the 1960s, and sit-ins in 1961 to desegregate lunch counters. And 1963, the Birmingham campaign, where the public safety commissioner, Eugene Bull Connor, his name was Eugene Connor, but he was acting like a bull, so I called him, where he had been arresting men and then women, but then decided to arrest high school and elementary school children over 3,000 were arrested in 1963. Ultimately, Birmingham was desegregated. And then in 1965, the Voting Rights Act, the march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, that created that precious right. And it's interesting to hear so many of John Lewis's, the late, great John Lewis's colleagues in Congress that say, oh, I just love John. He was, you gonna vote on John Lewis Voting Rights Act? Nope. So, John Lewis and many of us were working to make it possible for everyone to vote in an equal way. And then in 1968, fair housing legislation. But yet there are still communities in America where African Americans, if they go to try to purchase homes, they can't. Or they're not allowed to, I should say. It's far better than it was. So this is not saying we didn't make progress, but there are still those who are creating walls and not building bridges. Bridge builders work in community. Wall builders work to stop progress. We need more bridge builders. That will make our society a better society. There's a saying that I used earlier today, and it's a quote by Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo used to say that wherever there's darkness, crimes will occur. But the guilty one is not merely he who commits the crime, but those who create the darkness. Now I say that because the late, great Richard Pryor used to talk about criminal justice. And he said two things. One thing he said was, there are people in jail who really need to be there, which is true. There are a lot of people who shouldn't be. And when you look at the African American population, 13 to 14% of the population, Pryor used to say, but we comprise 67 to 80% of the jail population. So that if you go down to the courthouse looking for justice, he said, all you'll find is just us. It's humorous. Sad, but it's still true. Maybe that's because of it is racism, but it is targeting communities. It is targeting people. So we got to figure out, how do we change that dynamic and reform the system? Now, my dad, I want to leave you with some hope. There are two things that I usually close with. One of them, because I traveled with my father 8 or 10 times, my brother Dexter and I. You may know that in January, my brother passed. So of the 4 children of Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, Yolanda passed about 16 years ago. Mom passed 18 years ago. So the 4 children, there are only 2 of us left. Myself and Bernice, my sister Bernice. But Dad used to say the ultimate measure of a human being is not where one stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where one stands in times of challenge and controversy. He said that on some questions, cowardice asked, is a position safe? Expediency asked, is a position politic? No, I'm sorry. Expediency asks, is a position politic. Vanity asks, is a position popular. But conscience asks, is a position right? Sometimes, he said, we must take positions that are neither safe nor popular nor politic. But we must take those positions because our consciences tell us they're right. Almost every day, and we all have to make decisions. Some are inconsequential, but many are critical and important. And if we stick to conscience, most times we'll make the correct decision. That is found deep within our hearts. So I leave you thinking, I want you to think about that. I also want you to think about the I Have a Dream speech. Perhaps the greatest speech of the 20th century, some have said. All over the world. You know, we observe the King holiday in January. We're just one country that observes it. We don't realize that there are over 100 countries in the world observe Martin Luther King Jr. in some way, form, or fashion. The message obviously was global, and it resonates. I remember when Sam and I were in Jordan. Sam, we went to Jordan some years back and met with the leadership of that country. Dad's message was respected and resonated there. I remember when I was in Bosnia, maybe 12 years ago, and Herzegovina, I believe, is the capital city, and Tuzla is the second largest city in Bosnia, Eastern Europe. City Hall is on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in an Eastern European country. Very few black people, soldiers were there, but very few black folk. But they were inspired by what Martin Luther King Jr. did. This is global. And so I promised you I was going to be through. I got one more quote, but I also have to tell you about this exciting project we're working on for Dad's 100th birthday, which is 2029. We are working on an initiative called Realize the Dream. Realize. Go to realizethedream.org. I thought it was come. Okay, org. Yeah, it is. It's because it's a movement. It really is about creating a movement that young people will be involved in. We are trying to engage 100 million hours of service, community service, for Dad's 100th birthday. Now, let me show you one quick thing on that. It's about bringing people together, because it doesn't matter your political affiliation. It doesn't matter your sexual orientation. It does not matter what your religious beliefs are. All that matters is you're coming together to do something that's bigger than yourself, and you're doing it with others. So perhaps it creates dialogue and civil dialogue that we don't have on the political stage right this moment. It's about bringing people together to make our planet better, to make our nation better. The NFL is one of our partners. The NBA just signed up as a partner to help amplify. Allstate is one of our partners. DoorDash is one of our partners. Scholastic is one of our partners. The College Board, teacher unions are one of our partners. And we're working to garner a number of other companies and community organizations to help us. My goal is for us to achieve more than 100 million. But from a marketing standpoint, 100 for 100 is a very amazing marketing strategy. But the goal is to do far more than that. Because when we as a society come together and do good, it reverberates throughout the community. Whether we're dealing with bullying, whether we're dealing with the environment, whether we're dealing with reading and competency, whether we're dealing with something to help our seniors. It's doing service. So just want you to think about that and go to realizethedream.org and you'll see it reflected. We're going to be going to all 32 in the next 5 years, all 32 NFL teams. We may be doing something with the NBA too, but we're also hoping to get soccer involved. We're also hoping and expecting to get Major League Baseball involved. Now, this is found. When I was a child, about 14, I traveled to my mother's undergraduate institution, Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio. And there was something, a statue on that college, by the way, a statue of the educator Horace Mann. And on that statue was an inscription that ultimately made an indelible impact upon my life. What it said was, be ashamed to die until you've won a victory for humanity. I was 14 at first, so I said, oh, that's nice. I came back a half a dozen or so more times, and each time I would come and read that inscription, in my mind, I said, well, how could you do that? I could see how you could do it easily as a corporation that had 100,000 employees, but I couldn't quite see it. Ultimately, I broke it down, and I said, you know, this is what it means. We can win a victory in our neighborhood. We can win victories in our schools. We can win victories in our places of worship. Some of us may win victories in our cities. Some may win victories in our county. Some may win victories in our state. Some may win victories in our nation. And yet still, some may win victories in our world. All those words mean are be ashamed to die until you have done a little something to make this world a little better than it was when you arrived. Thank you, and may God bless the Syracuse NAACP always.
Mr. King, thank you. On behalf of everyone in this room who will probably want a picture with you, even if they already took one on the way in, they will want you again. Thank you for your words to all of us in Central New York. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow NAACP peers, this has been a very special evening, and that was a speech that is very difficult to follow. Thank you for trusting and supporting in the mission of the Syracuse Onondaga NAACP.
And so as we close out this evening's dinner, our theme this year was bringing generations past, present, and future could not be more appropriate as we witness the attacks on voting rights, women's reproductive health, education, and healthcare, coupled with the continued and heightened occurrence of racial, cultural, religious, and gender bias activity and the murder of Black and brown people across the nation. It's important that we stay the course on education, advocacy, and protest. And in the words of Mr. Martin Luther King III, we can't be ashamed to die. I'm going to spin it a little bit now. It's because we're going to make sure that we are going to leave this world better than when we arrived. And so I invite Rabbi Dozier up to the podium to close us out with a benediction. And at the close of the benediction, we're not going to close with the benediction yet.
We may have breaking news. We may have breaking news. We may not have breaking news.
All right. If anyone has one of these things on, you're invited to come back to the reception room as well at the closing of this. But
Very nice.
we invite Rabbi Jazer. Thank you for being here. And at the conclusion of Rabbi Jazer's benediction, we wish all of you peace and all good things. Go safely and certainly be afraid to die if you're not going to be courageous to step up to the challenge of what we need to do to leave the world better than we found it. Rabbi Jazer.
Good night.
A man, observing a marketplace crowded with hundreds of people, probably about the same numbers we have here this evening, asked his rabbi, "Why did God create just one person, Adam, and not hundreds?" The rabbi thought just for a moment and replied, "This is to teach us that no one can say, 'My father is better than your father,' for we all have the same father, Adam." This evening, in the hundreds, we came together to honor and celebrate the work and contributions of unique individuals. We also came together to honor and celebrate each one of us, a gathering of hundreds of unique individuals. We came to honor and celebrate each individual's uniqueness, as each one of us is a reflection of God's image for humanity, a reflection embodied in Adam's genome. And as we leave this evening, may we also honor and celebrate each of the 8 billion unique descendants of Adam who are living in this world, irrespective of the divides that separate us, artificial divides and barriers that we have created. Every person is equally created in God's image. We have come in shalom, in peace, in wholeness. We have been together in shalom, in wholeness and peace. And may we be blessed to go and work towards a world of shalom, a world of wholeness and peace. Amen.